A windshield wiper swept across the glass. For a split second, I saw a town, warm lights, a gas station, a diner, a church. Then the rain covered the windshield again when the glass cleared. The town was gone. I slowed the car. There shouldn't have been anything out there. I'd driven this highway dozens of times. There were 40 miles of forest between the last town and my apartment, nothing else. No exits, no buildings, nothing. The GPS suddenly chimed. Turn right in 300 feet. I frowned. There was no road. The voice repeated itself. Turn right. Then, a narrow road appeared through the rain. It hadn't been there a second earlier. This is Tales of the Dark. A viewer recently sent me this experience and asked to remain anonymous. Some names and small details have been changed for privacy. Everything else has been told exactly as they remembered it. 3 months ago, I was driving home from a photography job. It was late, a little after 9. The weather had changed faster than anyone expected. Rain poured so hard I could barely see the road. Every few seconds I slowed down because the headlights reflected off the water like a wall of white. The GPS suddenly recalculated. It claimed the highway ahead was closed. A new route appeared, only 15 minutes longer. I accepted it without thinking. That decision still keeps me awake at night. The road became narrower, the trees closed in, streetlights disappeared. Cell service dropped to 1 bar. I considered turning around, then I saw lights ahead. A town, small, quiet, almost comforting. A wooden welcome sign stood beside the road. Welcome to Ashbrook, population 614. I had never heard of Ashbrook. The sign looked old, not abandoned, just forgotten. The road carried me into town. Everything looked normal. A grocery store, a barber shop, a pharmacy. A diner with a bright neon sign reading open. Rain continued falling. People walked along the sidewalks holding umbrellas. Cars moved slowly through the streets. Nothing looked unusual, except every clock I could see read exactly the same time. The clock above the pharmacy. 9:17, the church clock. 9:17, the digital display outside a bank. 9:17, even my dashboard clock changed. 9:17, I blinked. A second earlier it had been 9:46. I checked my phone, no signal. The time read 9:17. It stayed there, not frozen, just never changing. I laughed to myself, probably a GPS glitch, or maybe the phone had crashed. I parked beside the diner. The rain showed no sign of stopping. Inside, the place smelled like fresh coffee, old wood, warm food. About 15 people sat quietly eating. Nobody looked at me. Soft music played from an old jukebox. A waitress smiled. You made it. I smiled politely. I guess. She handed me a menu. You'll want the meatloaf tonight. I haven't ordered yet. I know. She walked away. I watched her stop beside the kitchen window. Without asking, the cook placed a plate onto the counter. She carried it directly to my table. Meatloaf, mashed potatoes, exactly what she'd said. My stomach tightened. Maybe she'd guessed. People ordered common meals all the time. Still, it felt strange. I tasted the food. It was still steaming, one of the best meals I'd eaten in years. An older man sitting nearby looked over, passing through. Yeah, haven't seen you in a while. I smiled awkwardly. I've never been here. He looked confused. Sure you have. Before I could answer, he returned to eating. I looked around again. Everyone suddenly seemed familiar with me, not staring, not whispering, just comfortable, as if I belonged there. The waitress returned. You heading home tonight? Hopefully. She glanced toward the window. You should wait until the rain stops. I've still got another hour to drive. She didn't smile this time. I wouldn't. Why? Nobody leaves before the rain ends. What happens if they do? She hesitated, then quietly said, they usually come back. Before I could ask another question, she walked away. I left cash on the table outside. The rain felt colder. The streets were almost empty now. Across the road stood a small motel. Ashbrook in vacancy. I decided to ask for directions. The lobby looked untouched by time. Dark wooden walls, old brass keys hanging behind the desk. A grandfather clock. 9:17 still. The elderly woman behind the counter looked up. Oh, I wondered when you'd return. I'm sorry, you always come back. I've never stayed here. She slowly slid a large guest register across the desk. Take a look. I opened it. The pages stretched back decades. Hundreds of names, dates, room numbers. Near the final page, I froze. My name written clearly. My full signature, room 6, check-in, October 14. 15 years earlier, I stared at it. The handwriting was mine, exactly mine. I looked up. There has to be some mistake. The woman gently shook her head. No mistakes. I would have been 12 years old. I know, she smiled sadly. You were much younger. I stepped backward. No, someone copied my signature. You checked out the next morning. I've never been here. She looked genuinely surprised. You don't remember? I turned and walked straight out of the motel. The rain had become heavier. Almost impossible to see through. I got back into my car, locked every door, started the engine. The GPS showed only one road leading out of town. I followed it. 10 minutes later, I drove past the welcome sign again. Welcome to Ashbrook. Population 614. I frowned. That wasn't possible. I'd been driving in a straight line. I kept going. 5 more minutes. The same diner, the same church, the same motel. I tried another road. It circled back to the town square. Another road, same result. Every road led back. My fuel gauge suddenly dropped. Half a tank, quarter tank. Then the low fuel light came on. Emily would have laughed. She always told me never to let the tank fall below half, but I'd filled it before leaving the city. I should have had enough fuel for another 300 miles. Something wasn't right. The gas station sat on the corner. Its lights glowed brightly. I pulled in. The attendant stepped outside before I even opened the door. He looked exhausted, dark circles beneath his eyes. Rain soaked his jacket. Without saying hello, he asked one question: "Did you leave the diner?" I nodded. His face fell. "You shouldn't have." "Why?" He looked around to make sure nobody was listening, then leaned closer. "Once someone serves you, the town remembers you." Before I could ask what that meant, every light in the gas station flickered. The attendant looked toward the sky. His expression changed instantly. Fear, real fear. He whispered only 3 words, "The rain's slowing down." Then he hurried back inside and locked the door. The attendant disappeared into the back room. He didn't look back. He didn't tell me to come inside. He simply locked the door. I got out of the car and knocked on the glass. He refused to answer. Instead, he pointed toward the sky. The rain had almost stopped. Only a few drops still tapped against the pavement. Then, every light in town went out, not one building at a time, all of them at once. Darkness swallowed the streets. A second later, the power returned. The diner lights came back. The motel sign glowed again. Cars continued driving as if nothing had happened. People walked the sidewalks. No one reacted, as if the blackout had never happened. My dashboard clock still read 9:17. I looked at my phone. 9:17. The battery had dropped from 82% to 11. Without using it, I started the car again. The engine struggled, then came to life. I wasn't staying another minute. I drove straight through town, past the diner, past the church, past the pharmacy. Finally, I reached a road I hadn't seen before. A wooden sign stood beside it. County Road 18. No GPS, no streetlights, just darkness. I turned onto it immediately. The farther I drove, the lighter the rain became. For the first time in nearly an hour, I felt hopeful. Then I noticed headlights behind me. One car keeping its distance, never getting closer, never falling behind. I sped up. It matched my speed. I slowed down. It slowed too. I couldn't see the driver. Only 2 headlights cutting through the rain. 5 minutes later, the road ended, not at another highway, at Ashbrook. The welcome sign stood in front of me again. Welcome to Ashbrook. Population 614, except the number had changed. Population 615. I stared at it slowly, almost afraid to look. I counted again. 615. Someone had added 1. My hands tightened around the steering wheel. The headlights behind me disappeared. I checked my mirrors. Nothing. No car, no lights, just empty road. A police cruiser rolled slowly into the town square. Relief washed over me. Finally, someone normal. I waved both hands. The officer stepped out. middle-aged. Friendly smile, you look lost. I need directions. I keep ending up back here. He nodded. That happens, you know about this, to visitors. He looked toward the rain. You arrived before it stopped. What does that mean? Instead of answering, he asked, what time do you have? I looked down, still 9:17. He sighed. It hasn't moved, has it? No, it won't. When does it start again? When you leave. I've been trying. He looked genuinely sympathetic. I know. The officer took off his hat. I'll show you something. He led me to the small police station. Inside, there were shelves filled with missing person files, hundreds of them. Some were decades old, others looked recent. He pulled one from the shelf. The photograph made my stomach drop. It was me, not a similar face, me, the same photo from my driver's license. The report listed me as missing, date of disappearance, tomorrow. I laughed nervously. This isn't funny. I know, I haven't disappeared. Not yet. He closed the file. You still have time. Time for what? To leave before the town accepts you. What does that even mean? He didn't answer. Instead, he opened another file. A woman missing, 1997, last seen driving during heavy rain. Another, 2008. Lost while following GPS. Another, 2021, never arrived home. Every report ended the same way. Last known location, unknown. The officer quietly said, we know where they went. Why doesn't anyone come here? They do, they just don't remember. My head started spinning. What is this place? He looked out the window, a place that shouldn't still exist. Before I could ask another question, the station lights flickered. The officer's face changed. You need to go. What? The rain stopped. I looked outside. The streets were dry, completely dry. No puddles, no clouds, no rain. The officer grabbed my arm. Drive, don't stop, no matter what you see. I ran, jumped into my car, started the engine. For the first time, the dashboard clock changed. 9:18 then. 9:19, the GPS restarted. Signal returned. A route home appeared. I accelerated. The town disappeared behind me. The road stretched ahead. Trees rushed past the windows. 10 minutes later, I reached the highway. Traffic, streetlights, everything looked normal. My phone exploded with notifications. 37 missed calls. Dozens of text messages. My sister, my co-workers, my landlord. Every message asked the same thing. Where are you? I called my sister. She answered immediately. Oh my God, are you okay? Yeah, I just got home. Silence. You've been missing. What? For 3 days, I nearly drove off the road. No, I left work tonight. You left on Monday. Today's Thursday. I pulled over, checked my phone. She was right. 3 days had disappeared. The police questioned me for hours. I told them everything. Ashbrook. The diner, the motel, the police officer, the guest register. Nobody believed me. A week later, I searched every map I could find. State records, historical maps, satellite images, nothing. Ashbrook didn't exist. Then I found a local history forum. One post mentioned a town called Ashbrook. Destroyed by a flood in 1981, abandoned, removed from modern maps. The attached black and white photograph showed the town square during its annual summer festival. I zoomed in. There, standing beside the diner, was me, same face, same jacket, looking directly at the camera. The photograph had been taken 45 years before I was born. I downloaded it immediately. The next morning, the image was gone. The forum had been deleted. Months passed. I convinced myself I'd imagined everything until another storm rolled through. I was watching the weather from my apartment window when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered. No one spoke, only the sound of heavy rain. Then, a familiar voice, the waitress, calm, gentle. We saved your table. The call disconnected. No caller ID, no number, nothing. Yesterday, a package arrived at my apartment, no return address. Inside was a ceramic coffee mug, white, simple, across the side were the words ASHBROK Diner on the bottom. A receipt was folded inside. 1 meal, 1 coffee, 1 slice of pie, paid in full. Time served 9:17 p.m. and written beneath the total, in handwriting I instantly recognized as my own, were 6 words. I'll be back when it rains. I don't remember writing them. I don't plan to, because every time dark clouds gather now, I stay off the roads. And whenever my GPS suggests a faster route, I ignore it. Maybe Ashbrook only appears when it rains, or maybe it only appears for people it's already chosen. That was the end of this story. If you've ever experienced something you still can't explain or have a strange story of your own, send it to Tales of the Dark. Your story could become the next nightmare featured on this channel. If you are new here, subscribe to Tales of the Dark, where every story gives you a nightmare.